Today is Wednesday, May 21st. We welcome you back to the Frozen Edge, your daily home for a deeper dive into the analytics behind the NHL's betting market, helping you craft your picks, props, and parlays as the chase for sports' greatest trophy races on. We move out to the West Coast in our Western Conference final preview here. He's Timo Seppa, former senior manager of hockey analytics at the NHL. I'm Casey Ditzel. Timo, how's it going today?
Going well. Really excited to talk about another great series. We've got four very worthy teams here in the Final Four.
Florida and Carolina underway in the Eastern Conference. Now we shift out west as Edmonton travels to Dallas. Both of these teams have had similar routes in the fact that they've each had to get past a couple of serious cup contenders. The Western Conference coming into this playoff was going to be a gauntlet no matter where you went. Yep. Edmonton beat the LA Kings after trailing 2-0, 4 straight wins to come back there. Then they had to play Vegas, who was up there for the cup favorites, the champion in the regular season of the Pacific Division. They dropped game 1, came back again, 4 straight wins to win that one in 5. Dallas, on the other hand, has had some longer series, 7 games against Colorado, who was a lot of people's picks to make it all the way. Yeah. Then last round against the President's Trophy winner in the Winnipeg Jets. They got that one done in 6 games, and now these two teams match up in the conference final, Timo. And as you look at the paths that both of these two have gotten here, it's pretty equal to say either of these teams could be Stanley Cup favorites, and certainly each are Stanley Cup contenders.
Yeah, this is we're going to go through all the numbers that we have on this, and we'll put in a little bit of our own opinion in on it, but on paper it looks like a really close series.
So looking at the odds to start with, the conference final odds have Edmonton as a slight favorite, -120 to repeat as Western Conference champions. Dallas sits dead even at +100. Stanley Cup odds, the Oilers tied with the Panthers as the favorites at +250. Dallas just shy of each of those two, +275 on the odds markets. So again, pretty similar there as you would expect, a toss-up between the two. Dallas will be the home team to start, so they have the Game 7 advantage as well as the opportunity to kick it off on home. Something to think about. We'll talk a little bit about Edmonton's stats, but also the fact that Edmonton's had a little bit of a layoff. Usually we see success with the teams that have played later in series early in the following series. We'll have to wait and see tonight whether or not Dallas can use the home ice advantage and the fact that they just played over the weekend to their advantage. Let's get right into it. Conference final preview on the west side and a rematch of the 2024 Western Conference Finals. Edmonton advanced to the Stanley Cup final last year, a 6-game 4-2 win. Just like last year, it was Dallas who was the home seed, and the Oilers were the ones who jumped out to the early lead in the series, a double overtime victory, winning 3-2 in Game 1. The Stars bounced back, split on home to start with a 3-1 win in Game 2. They split on the road in Edmonton as well, with the Oilers winning Game 3. The Stars winning Game 3, the Oilers winning Game 4, a 5-3 Stars win for Game 3, 5-2 for the Oilers in Game 4. Game 5 back in Dallas was when the Oilers really took over, a 3-1 win there. They would clinch the series in Game 6, a 2-1 win on home ice in the Rogers Arena. The regular season here, pretty similar, kind of a back and forth. Dallas winning the first game back in October, a 4-1 final. Edmonton, a 5-4 win in March on March 8th. Later in March 26th, Dallas, a 4-3 win. So getting into the stats here, Timo, first off, do you make much out of any of those results looking back to last year? Both these teams pretty different in personnel since then. And even for that matter, since 2 of those 3 games with Dallas picking up some big time adds, Edmonton similar as well at the trade deadline, 2 of the 3 games from the regular season coming before the deadline.
Yeah, I look at the recent results, last year's playoffs and this year's season series. I look at that as pretty much no advantage to either team. Obviously, Edmonton won last year. Number of close games in that series, and then Dallas had the slight advantage this time. Yeah, one of those games was notable. March 8th, right, was the debut for Rantanen. He had a goal and an assist in that one. That was an Edmonton win. That was the only Edmonton win. But yeah, overall, those results pretty even.
We covered the SAT percentage of two of the top teams in Florida and Carolina yesterday. Where's the 5-on-5 advantage here in this series?
Yeah, we have those were the first and second place teams in shot attempt percentage. Uh, those being Carolina and Florida. Third place in the regular season was Edmonton. So out of the four remaining teams, you have got the number one, two, and three teams in SAT percentage. Edmonton was at 53.9% in the regular season. That's at 5-on-5. Dallas, a middling team, 18th at a little over 49%. So, we're talking about small percentages here, but out of the four teams remaining, Dallas is not the one that was taking more shot attempts. Let's just use that as a soft proxy for possessing the puck. So, that's carried forward in the playoffs as well. Edmonton is at 54%, basically the same as they were in the regular season. Dallas, obviously, you are only playing two opponents, so that's going to make a difference here, but they're even lower than in the regular season at 46% for their SAT percentage. So, seemingly advantage Edmonton there. Now, like we did yesterday, we can look at goals for percentage to see which team was scoring at 5-on-5. Were you scoring more or less than your opponent? Edmonton actually was underwater 5-on-5. 168 goals for at 5-on-5. 172 against at 5-on-5. Dallas was well above 50-50 basically. But like, what are we seeing there? Basically, we're seeing a reflection of Edmonton's goaltending quality, bringing down that goals for percentage. So I'm going to still lean on SAT percentage as more of the true picture of how a team is performing at 5-on-5. So I'm going to give Edmonton the advantage at 5-on-5, but it's close.
Edmonton had a regular season rocky road in between the pipes. Stuart Skinner, a tough start to the season, ended up switching over to Cal Pickard with Skinner out late in the season. Same thing here in the postseason. They started with Skinner. He was abysmal in his first couple of starts. Cal Pickard picked up the slack, 4 straight wins, got one back in the after the loss to Vegas, excuse me. But then the injury to Pickard, he's listed day to day going into this series. All of a sudden, Skinner came back and has back-to-back shutouts to close out that divisional final. Where do you see the goaltending going into this when Jake Ottinger has made a name for himself going forward as maybe the American favorite next year in net for the USA at the Olympics? He was outstanding in the battle against Hellebuck last series, excuse me.
Yeah. And Hellebuck did rally there at the end, but Hellebuck obviously overall had a rough playoffs. And whereas Ottinger is his save percentage in the playoffs right now is at .919. That's second best among goalies that have played an appreciable amount of games. 0 shutouts for him, for what that's worth, and an 8-5 record. He's brought up his game from the regular season where he was only somewhat above average at a .909 save percentage. Stuart Skinner and Pickard, both regular season and playoffs, you're talking about pretty similar numbers. I mean, Skinner regular season 896, Pickard 900. Skinner playoffs 884, Pickard 888. Not a lot of daylight between them. very recently, I was saying that the injury to Cal Pickard was probably a big hit for Edmonton. With Skinner coming back and pitching two shutouts, his numbers are about the same. And maybe I should have known better, because this is what happens when your sample size builds up. Numbers are going to come back to normal. And so obviously goaltending is an advantage for Dallas. And I guess we have come to the conclusion that it probably doesn't make all that much difference whether Skinner or Pickard is in net for Edmonton, at least statistically.
Last year in their run to the Cup final, Edmonton's power play with McDavid, Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard all showing why they're the top dogs in the NHL was clicking right around 40%. Much different here this
Mm.
year. Where do you see the special teams playing out in this Western Conference final?
Yeah, if you didn't look at the stats, you would figure that Edmonton must be near the top of the league in power play percentage. You'd probably think of that for Washington. I assumed that before I looked at the numbers as well. Star power doesn't always mean a top power play. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to work, including just what kind of what you're doing on the power play and the rest of the personnel, not just the couple of stars. So Edmonton, surprisingly, was only 12th in the league in power play percentage at 23.7%. Whereas Dallas penalty killing was at 82%, so fourth in the league. So in that case, you're looking at I would say an advantage to Dallas when it comes to the PK. It's a little bit surprising to see that. As far as when Dallas is on the power play, you've got at least for the regular season, you got a below average power play against slightly below average against a slightly below average penalty killing team. That would make you think that that is no big advantage when Dallas is on the power play. However, if you dig into the stats a bit, you look at the playoffs. Dallas is at a 30.8% clip on the power play. Edmonton is way down on the PK at 66.7%. So that would make you think Dallas on the power play. And if you look at the season series, Dallas was 4 for 7 on the power play against Edmonton in those 3 games. Small sample, obviously, but that's a 57% power play. So, all right, I'm kind of talking myself in circles, but I think on both special teams here, you can make a case for it being advantage Dallas.
Interestingly enough, in the 2025 playoffs, thinking about the Oilers' power play, the road has been a killer. They are 0 for 14 on the power play on the road. At home at 60% right now, 6 for 10 on home ice during the playoffs this season. Injuries that could be a factor, maybe favor Edmonton. Dallas without any notable injuries, but Edmonton is going to get one major name back in the lineup. Matthias Ekholm has missed the entirety of the playoffs. He was banged up late in April, just before the start of the postseason. Missed the first 2 rounds. He was a full participant at practice on Monday, although still listed on the IR. That would be a big add for the blue line for Edmonton, one of their key lockdown defensemen, power play 2 quarterback, as well as a big piece of the penalty kill there. Cal Pickard also listed day-to-day. Skinner has played well in his absence, as we covered on the goaltender side.
Yep.
We'll see how much that can matter as those 2 guys come back. Pete DeBoer has made a name for himself in Game 7s, undefeated in the final game of a series. Looking at Chris Knobloch, a much younger coach in terms of the NHL, at least. DeBoer, a much longer track record. Where do you see the coaching breakdown going?
Yeah, I think both of the coaches have something to say here. DeBoer has a long track record of deep runs in the playoffs, but Knobloch has been able to turn around Edmonton the last couple of years, and Edmonton has had a lot of success under him. I guess you could argue, though, if you've got McDavid and Draisaitl on your bench, that can make a coach look very good. So I don't see a distinct advantage here. I'm going to call a coaching matchup as even.
Looking at the way both these teams play series, you could think about Dallas getting off to a quick start, Edmonton very strong late in series. How do you think that plays out?
Yeah, very interesting numbers when I dug into this on Edmonton. So since 2022, Edmonton is uh, they have very distinctly done worse early in series and better late in series. I think we kind of know this by feel. We look at how they lose a game or two at the beginning of a series like they did this year against LA, and then they storm back to win four in a row. They don't always work out that way, but I just looked at the numbers here. Game one, Edmonton 3-8. Game two, 6-5. Game three, 4-7. Game four, 9-2, and they've won 8 game fours in a row. Game five, 7-3. Game six, 6-1. That's big time. An 86% winning rate. Game six. Game seven, 7-2. Obviously not the final Stanley Cup final last year. If we group those games together, look at games 1-3. Edmonton since 2022, they're 13-20. They've won 39% of their games 1-3. However, in games 4-7, they are 24-7. They've won 77% of their games. So they are a team who figures other teams out, breaks them down, has more will to win. Whatever it is, they have got late series magic. So if you are going to kill off Edmonton, you have to drive the stake through their heart. And just one more note there. Each one of those 3 seasons, they lost to the Cup champion every one of those times. So Edmonton is going to be a tough out, and this is going to play towards my prediction.
And as you hinted, time to make some predictions here. I'll let you go first, taking all that into consideration. Where do you see the Western Conference Final going, and who will advance to the Stanley Cup Final?
Yeah, I would if I was going purely by the stats, I would lean on the advantage that Dallas has in goal with Ottinger, and I would lean on some of their advantages on special teams. And I would say, if I put my stats hat on, I would probably say Dallas in 7, but I am really intrigued by this kind of semi-unquantifiable Edmonton magic where they are able to turn on the Jets in game 4-7. So that is going to push me to make my pick Edmonton in 7 instead of Dallas in 7.
You've described Edmonton as a team of destiny. I'm following the exact same. I have Florida and Edmonton as my Cup final, and Edmonton is my Cup winner on my bracket from before. I'm sticking to that. I think McDavid is going to will this team through. I think we're going to see a lot of high-flying offense throughout this series, probably tending towards the over. And in game 1, it's already listed at a 6.5 over-under, so they're expecting the same out in Vegas. The odds for a game 7 win is something interesting. If you're not sure who to pick in this series, Edmonton at plus 430 to win in 7 games,
Yep.
Dallas plus 420, so just about the same odds. If you're going to pick the exact game total to have the series go 7 games, is just plus 165. So something to kind of think about there. It might be worth, if you're set on 7 games, instead of picking just the series to go 7, maybe split your unit in half and pick one on Edmonton, one on Dallas. Might make a little bit more return. If it ends up going to 7, you'll be happy either way there. But for me, it's Edmonton in 7. And going back to what I hinted at early in the show, I think Dallas is a little fresher. Edmonton's had maybe that longer layoff on top of having to travel a long distance down to Texas on the road. I'm giving Dallas the advantage, especially early in this series. Maybe we see a split, but Dallas game one for sure. I think Edmonton's going to come rolling back, gain some momentum on home ice, and a 7-game series. Timo, as we close it off here, any final thoughts?
No, this is I guess it's it's hockey. It's NHL hockey. Anything can happen. Maybe we end up with a 5-game series here, but I'm thinking we're going long here. So buckling in on my couch, and we'll take it from there and see if we can make an exciting 7-game series.
We're rolling on in the postseason, getting closer and closer to finding out who is going to lift Lord Stanley. Big thank you to Connor DeRue, who's been assisting our show, digging through the trenches and finding some depth stats to help us out. We're going to be back tomorrow previewing game 2 between Carolina and Florida. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our show, available on YouTube and Spotify. Also, full episodes coming out each day on Twitter. We tweet our game-by-game picks there to help you with your props and parlays, making your selections with stat-based analysis behind the NHL's betting market every single day here on the Frozen Edge. He's Timo Seppa. I'm Casey Ditzel. Until next time, have a good one, everybody.